dum diddy dum diddy dum.
Hello and welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket in association with LV Insurance, who of course are the sponsors of this test series between England and India. We're looking back at the second day from Lord's and we're both dressed in red tops, as of course a lot of the crowd were today. Red for Ruth Strauss, and the Ruth Strauss Foundation was very much the focus of today's play. Actually, it was a brilliant day, wasn't it? And the money raised and the awareness for the campaign and just the enthusiasm shown for the whole initiative was fantastic. Didn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've become used to it a bit. Glenn McGrath has a day for the Sydney Test match. They also have a day in Johannesburg, normally in South Africa as well, for breast cancer awareness and raising funds there in South Africa. And they raised, I got the final total actually in front of me, I've just seen it, £530,000 was raised today for the Ruth Strauss Foundation. So yeah, so many people contributed, so many people supported it. There was a sort of red hue to the crowd today with all the red shirts on. You've got yours on, I've got mine on. Well, sort of red anyway.
Mine's a bit, I mean, it's the best I could do. It's my red shirt. It's sort of a bit of a wild sort of party shirt, but anyway, it does the job.
For a wild party man, obviously, there we go. Well,
yeah,
okay.
No, it was a really good feeling today anyway, which that started off well with. And actually, maybe that just buoyed England because they started the day more than they could have dreamt of, better than they could have dreamt of, because that early wicket of KL Rahul, sort of loose drive. And actually, when I saw that and Ollie Robinson taking the wicket looking a bit stiff, it just took me back. And I'm afraid it always takes me back to that ridiculous occasion when I was batting against Sid Lawrence and Courtney Walsh, having survived overnight as night watchman and geared up to try and make runs the following day. Beautiful sunny day, ready for all these bounces I was going to get from fiery Sid Lawrence and Courtney Walsh, back on my stumps. And of course, Sid was as stiff as a board first thing in the morning and bowled me this lolloping half volley first ball, which I just tamely poked to square leg and was out first ball of the morning. And it was a bit like that with Rahul, sort of expecting a hostile delivery from Robinson and got a juicy half volley, which he poked straight to extra cover.
Yeah. I've got my violin in the case here for you guys. I'll just get it out. Of course, the England selectors were there as well, weren't they? Because they were looking at your bowling, but they thought, could you bat as well? Is there?
Please don't carry on that line. I mean, I did feel sorry for Rahul though, having worked so hard for that century the day before and didn't add any more to it today. And then, of course, Jimmy Anderson following up the perfect ball. And actually, it was a great statement about his fitness, wasn't it? Because whereas Robinson, having bowled, 18 overs the day before, a bit stiff early on, Anderson came up first ball, having bowled, 20 overs yesterday, age 39, bowls the first ball on a perfect line and length with a bit of outswing and nicks off Ajinkya Rahane.
Yeah, and what it did, I mean, it rejuvenated England in this test match, because if those two or Rahul had continued, perhaps with a bit of help from Pant, and India were heading for something like 450. As it was, they only got over 350, and it got England right back in the test match. We said yesterday evening, England have to play really well if they're not to lose this game. And I still think India are favourites. I still think India are well placed to go on and win this test match. But England are in a much better position this evening than they were yesterday. I mean, India totally dominated that first day, while England fought back today. They 7 for 88. India lost today, which is a pretty good bowling effort. Just about as good as England, I think, could have hoped for. And then 119 for 3 by the close. So it's still going India's way. There's still a lot of work to do. And you had 2 wickets in the morning, like India did this morning, and 130 for 5. Then India right on top. So so much depends on Root as ever. Bit of help from Bairstow and Butler. There are some runs out there for England. But what I thought was interesting today was how difficult it was to score, how difficult it was for the batters. That the final calculation on the day, the final maths, 207 for 10. In 82.1 overs. And that shows you how difficult it was. And there was that little spurt, wasn't it, when England hit 5 fours in 6 balls and 6 fours in 11 balls. And that was, it was anonymous, really. It was really out of keeping with the rest of the day's play. And it got them going a bit. But as it was hard work.
I suppose, how do you explain that? 207 for 10. Well, I suppose you look at it. Firstly, a lot of the first 5 wickets were the Indian lower order, apart from Pant and Jadeja. So they're going to struggle to score. Obviously, Jadeja was batting with the tail, so the field were back, so it was sort of harder for him to score. Then you're factoring in Burns and Sibley, who are not quick scorers anyway, generally. And I suppose the other thing is that you're now talking also about a collection of fast bowlers who are so drilled and disciplined and equipped with so much data about individual batsmen and a Duke's ball and a reasonable pitch to bowl on and cloud cover. So, you factor all those things in. These bowlers are, I think, we're in an era where bowlers are not only skillful, but they're very well equipped with information as well, data, Hawkeye pitch maps, and batsmen's preferences, and carefully chosen and thought out field settings and where they're bowling. Look at how they bowl to Sibley, for instance. With 3 men catching on the leg side and bowled straight. Same to Root. They knows an LBW candidate a little bit, bowling very straight with more men on the leg side. So it is a number of factors that cause that slow scoring. But I suppose the bottom line is it's tough on that pitch, really, against those bowlers. Yeah,
quality bowlers, overhead conditions as well. It's been cloudy all day. The lights were on for some of the time, and there's just enough in this pitch as well. And and you've got bowlers like Jimmy Anderson. One of the all-time greats, still going, even at the age of 39. He has taken 200 Test wickets at an average of 21 since 2016. I mean, those are incredible figures for any bowler, but a bowler of his age as well. I know he doesn't want us to go on about his age, but I mean, it is significant. You don't see many bowlers at that age still going, holding sway over batters.
No, that's absolutely right. And it's the combination of his experience and his skill and the extra knowledge that he can impart from the coaches, from all the data that is derived from the play. That combination of the 3 things, you don't normally get that, because normally the bowler is too old by 39 to be able to use that valuable experience to the ultimate degree. But he is still in the most amazing condition, bowling 85 miles an hour still.
Yeah, so India all out for 364. You're right about the slow scoring. One feature of India's late order batting today is that we had one of those situations where Jadeja was batting with the tail, but because the tail starts at 8, the games all went into slow motion. You normally see that batting where an in batter will wait to the end of the over before taking a single, or the field comes up and he hits a 4, because that was happening with the number 9 in. So it was, in a way, it was quite tedious for a while. Those sort of slow motion tactics, cat and mouse tactics, the field going back. It was quite hard work after lunch. Actually, I think there was a spell after lunch where I think it was like 5 runs in half an hour, and I think England sort of won that battle in a way. They squeezed quite well, and it worked for them today. But I just wonder whether India could have been a bit braver in ticking the board over, and then it gets frustrating. Ishant stays in, and the board ticks over rather than turning down lots of runs. Anyway, that's the way they choose to play it. They often do these days. So 364, I think England would have been pretty happy with that. And Anderson walking off, showing the ball to the crowd for his 7th fifer, at Lords.
Yeah.
And what was it? His 31st in all Test match cricket. We've almost run out of things to say about him. Really.
We've run out of superlatives. It's ridiculous. You just got to use the words Jimmy Anderson, and that says it all, really. It's remarkable.
Yeah, he is. He's a modern genius. He really is. He's a cricketing genius, and he's 3rd in the list. And
by the way, Rohit Sharma said on TV this morning, is nothing. He looks back at the ball he was out to from Anderson. Said he's nothing he could have done with that. He doesn't feel he could have survived that ball.
Well, he's getting the ball to go away, and then.
And he nipped back, but it was on that line where he had to play it, and it cut back quite a lot and got through between bat and pad. But even if he's got his pad in the way, he would have been LBW.
Yeah.
So it moved enough to avoid the bat from a perfect length. There was nothing. I don't think there was anything Rohit or any batsman could have. There was no way they could have survived that unless they'd accidentally played down the wrong line and hit it in the middle. One of Funds for Run's key pillars is to help underprivileged areas of the country enjoy cricket. And so LV Insurance and the ECB's £1 million initiative has awarded a grant to South Shield CC to strengthen all aspects of their junior section. With many of the club's neighbouring areas in the 10% most deprived nationally, and with jobs further impacted by the pandemic, the money is needed to help support a passionate club. South Shield CC is one of the few clubs in the Northeast to field 4 senior teams, of which the majority are junior or ex-junior players, and the grant will keep the conveyor belt of talent and passion going. The goal is to restructure, encourage participation, and provide a healthy space for young players to exercise and socialise.
Well, we've looked at India's batting and Anderson's bowling. Let's talk a bit more about England's batting and assess where this game is. I don't know whether it's time to put up the Who's winning graphic for those people who are watching on video. My feeling is that India is still well ahead in this test match, or significantly ahead in this test match. And what does the Who's winning graphic say? Well, it backs that up. So what have we got? India draw
about
England
52%, 54% India win, draw about 25, and England win about 20.
Yeah, I mean, I think my strong conviction is that India are going to win this test match. It might take them quite a long time to do so, and I may be completely wrong, and it might turn into a draw. England might bat brilliantly tomorrow and get up around India's score and then roll them over. But I feel India are pretty well placed after 2 days of this game to go on and win the match. The ball is spun a little bit, not much, but it's only the second day. It's also kept low a bit outside the off stump. I just wonder whether LBW might come into play a bit more before the close. There was an LBW this evening. It was a strange one, actually. Rory Burns was given out LBW round the wicket from Mohammed Shami. My immediate feel it didn't look quite right, but Richard Illingworth gave it out. And I think what was interesting about it, if he'd not given it out, I'm not absolutely sure that India would have reviewed it, because they'd already lost 2 reviews on LBW shouts against Joe Root. But Richard Illingworth got it bang on. It was, everything was right. It was pitching in line and hitting the top of leg stump. So fair play to him. And that went India's way, rightly so. But it was one of those, you feel it could have not been given out. And it was not unlucky for Burns. He played across a straightish ball, but he actually played well today, Burns. He was starting to play really fluently out for 49. But we do have to talk, Yoz, I'm afraid, about 2 other players in England's top 3. Now, there have been 14 top 3 ducks for England this year. 14 top 3 ducks this year in Test cricket, and that is a record. No team has ever had 14 top 3 ducks in a calendar year before. I know England play more Test cricket these days than most teams. Should we talk about Sibley first, or should we talk about Hamid? Perhaps first things first. Let's talk about Dominic Sibley. A couple more stats to throw your way. He averages 21 in his last 13 Test matches. 21 in 13 Test matches, and he averages 16 in the first innings of those Test matches. He was out today, poking towards square leg. Discuss.
It was a horrible dismissal. He's had a few horrible dismissals, sort of caught down the leg side and caught at square leg and things like that. I mean, I guess we should be sort of a little bit sympathetic, because, as we said during the early part of this show, he's up against fine seam bowlers with all the information and statistics that they need to make batting, particularly against a new ball, as difficult as possible. But Sibley's just not convincing. He looks shaky. He doesn't look as if he's going to get runs, and then he just gets out. He's so easy to contain, and you just feel like, all right, if he stays in for half an hour or an hour, fine, but he's not going to get many runs, and eventually he's going to get out. And today he did, and he just chipped a sort of fairly tame ball, actually a ball that he probably should have easily worked for one down the leg side, just chipped it to mid wicket. But they had that field for him, didn't they? I could get the field shield up here, actually, couldn't I? And just sort of demonstrate it, really, because they had they only had 2 slips and a gully. They had hardly anybody on the offside, and then they had these 3 men sort of on the leg side, a mid-on, a short mid-on, a short mid-wicket, and a sort of shortish square leg and a fine leg. So they were bowling very straight to him here, and he just chipped one to this fielder, sort of just wide square leg. In fact, I think the mid-wicket came round to catch it. But I mean, it was just pretty sort of bit village, actually. What did you think?
Well, also, I mean, I think the other point is it was very much like his dismissal, one of his dismissals at Trent Bridge as well. So it was the same thing over again. I mean, I said to you that, you know, we said during the Trent Bridge test, I mean, I feel sorry for him in a way. I'm sorry for him because he is struggling in front of, you know, thousands of people, you know, watching on, and it's in a way it's hard to watch. And you know, sometimes the best thing to do is to, you know, take a player out of that situation. You know, he must be getting close, surely. I mean, those sorts of figures do not say really keep on picking me, do they? I mean, averaging of 21 in 13 test matches, but he is part of England's long-term strategy, or has been, for the Ashes. And I don't know whether they hope that on those Australian pitches with the Kookaburra ball that doesn't do as much after a while, that, you know, he'll be able to resist for longer, stick in and score. I don't know, but it's not looking good. And I know there are lots of people listening to this will say, "Come on, it's a no-brainer. It's obvious they have to make a change at the top of the order." So it's just possible here. He's got one more innings to save his sort of short-term or medium-term Test match career.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Yeah, just he's too easy to contain, and you know, batsmen have to score runs in the end. Otherwise, you're just treading water, going nowhere. So, yeah, I feel for him, but he's trying his best. But I don't think his best is good enough.
Now, they brought in a player who hasn't played a Test match for 5 years. Made a very promising start to his Test career in India in 2016. Hamid, you know, saw India knock up 364 and didn't open. He didn't open today because Sibley is still in the side, and he comes in and he is rolled over first ball. I mean, it was actually a bit of a shock. It was a sense of, you know, I think that there's a lot of goodwill to Haseeb Hameed because he shaped so well in his early part of his Test career. Then he had that injury and then that huge slump, and it's great to see him come back. So there's a real sort of intake of breath. Well, you were here, you saw it. There's a real intake of breath, almost a shock when he was dismissed. And I think it was more as well by the ball that got him out. It didn't really do very much. I think
It didn't do anything.
It was a straight ball. He just missed a straight ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone could quite believe it, really. You don't expect top order players just to miss a relatively straight ball in Test cricket.
No, I mean, you know, obviously it's a horrible experience to see that happening. I mean, I watched him as he walked out, and there were those sort of extravagant blocks as he came to the wicket, rather like actually Derek Randall used to do that, and these very sort of almost exaggerated blocks, just rehearsing his forward defence. Looked very solid, and then the ball came down, and actually his block attempting to play the ball was nothing like as sort of positive, really. It was a bit of a tame kind of poke at the ball on middle and leg when the ball was on off. So he was basically, as you say, playing down the Bakerloo, and it was just a sad thing to see. And I was actually sat with Matt Dawson, the former England rugby player at the time, and we were discussing whether there's anything worse in sport than walking all the way out to the middle at Lord's, long way past the umpire to the far end, you know, weighing up the situation and then getting a first ball and having to walk all the way back. Is there anything worse in sport than that? And he could only come up with in rugby, coming on as a sub and immediately causing a penalty conceding tackle and being sent off. Yeah. And probably even that isn't quite as bad. It's so lonely, isn't it? You're walking out on your own, you're out, and then you've got to walk back on your own. And it's like it's a total nightmare.
Yeah, it's brutal, isn't it? Cricket can do that too. We saw the joy for Rahul yesterday where he scored 100, you know, batted all day, difficult conditions, up on the honours board, first 100 at Lord's. You know, that's the best day of his cricketing life. And probably Hamid today. It was one of the worst days of his cricketing life. The one thing I would say, what caused it? I don't, is it the fact that the stage is so big after so long out of the Test game? He's normally an opener. So when he opens, he's played 111 innings as an opener in first-class cricket, and he averages 35. He has played now 17 innings in first-class cricket at number 3, and he averages 17. So, he is an opener, and there is something about just getting out there, isn't it? And you're used to it. Whereas if you have to sit and wait and think, whether that's a contributory factor. He came in the, in the end, the 15th over. So he did have to wait quite a long time to bat. Anyway, it was almost not a shocking dismissal, but I think it was one of those, it was a sort of, everyone gasped that it happened. Siraj, of course, absolutely delighted to pick up 2 in 2.
Last time he faced a first class ball, i.e. a red ball, was 20th of July.
Well, he did play in the county. He did play for the county level. He did play for the county.
Yeah, that was against the Indians.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. Yeah. It's not like he hasn't batted against a red ball for 2 months or something like some people, like Bairstow and Butler, haven't faced a red ball at all, have they? All summer. At least he has had some red ball sort of practice or experience recently. So you can't put it down to something as simple as that. I mean, it's just, I suppose it's a brain freeze and you just play down the wrong line. The ball, most batsmen need a sighter or two. And he just didn't, unluckily, he didn't get one, did he?
Yeah, cruel game. One ball, you can bat all day, like Rahul did yesterday, or you can be off after one delivery. Of course, and what it meant was Joe Root was in next on a hat trick, and there he is again. He's holding together England's batting. 48 not out overnight. He's now the second highest scorer in Tests for England. He's gone past Graham Gooch, so he's only got Alistair Cook ahead of him.
Incredible.
You feel quite a lot depends on Root on the third day. It's a tantalising prospect. The Saturday of Lord's Test, it's there for England. If they can have a really good batting day, then they will be right back in the match. If they do bat all day, you'd imagine they'd be, fairly close to that India score. And I reckon that's where they probably need to be if they're to sort of hold India back in this Test match. If India get a decent lead, I don't know, 60, something like that, even 50, 60, they've got the chance then to build a sort of match-winning position and make it difficult for England in the final innings on the 5th day of the game.
Now, we've got a tricky one today, haven't we? The In With Heart Award, the LV Insurance In With Heart Award. So the candidates, I suppose, are Anderson for his 7th 5-wicket haul at Lords. KL Rahul, we've already kind of given him his one for yesterday. Yeah. And he didn't make any runs today at all anyway. Pant made a 40, played pretty well, but nothing sort of special. Do we give it to Root again? Do we give it to Root, who's come in on a hat trick, taken 2 good catches at slip, come in on a hat trick, and resisted everything that the Indians could throw at him? And it's easy to say, this guy, how does he manage to shoulder the burden and score 30% of England's runs this calendar year? 1,112, I think, so far, average 61. How does he do it? How does he manage to shoulder that burden as captain as well? And I would say it's the best place to be, in the middle. If you're captain, it's the best place to be, because you're doing what you're paid to do, and there's no questioning of your ability as captain because you're making runs and contributing. And secondly, you're not in the dressing room being kind of hounded or hassled by people for things all the time, because the captain is always someone at the center of everything, whether it's selection or coaches wanting to talk about tomorrow's practice, or officials needing to discuss things, or the physio wanting to brief you about the injury list, or there's so many kind of different people who want to talk to you as captain. And I remember Andrew Strauss talking about that. And so the best place to escape all that and be yourself and have fun is batting in the middle, which is what Joe does best.
And the other thing as well, he takes so much confidence from the last Test match where he batted absolutely beautifully, and he batted extremely well here on this second day. But they're going to need a bit more of it on the third day, England. But it's a tantalising prospect, I think, for the Saturday crowd. and we'll review the day's play tomorrow evening when who's going to take control of the game. Well, let's find out. My hunch is India. Probably your hunch is India as well, but England are, they are to some extent back in the game, and they've had not quite as good a day as they could possibly hope for today, but not too far away.
No, I would like to see Butler play an innings of substance tomorrow, to play his natural game and take the attack to the Indians. It won't be easy, but England needs something to put the ball back in India's court. So look forward to that. Speak to you tomorrow.
Dum diddy dum diddy dum.